Hey, everybody. Oh boy, am I ever looking forward to this live stream. Wow. Things are getting really crazy these days. And could it possibly be, could there be any reference here to the fact that there's elections upcoming? Right. Yeah. The timing is impeccable, right? Especially now, even here in Canada, after Jag Meat, right? The one who's been carrying Trudeau boys water boxes for him for quite a while now. But yeah, he kind of pulled the plug, although it's a bit of a misnomer, a bit of a sleight of hand there, and pulling his supply agreement with the Trudeau Liberals to prop them up, right? And of course, he basically, even when you seen him being answering the questions from the media, basically, you just know it's like, okay, I'm following the agreement to try to pretend that he's trying to separate himself from the stench of the liberals, which, yeah, like they're failing so miserably, right? It's unbelievable the stench of failure that's taken place anywhere where there's one of those Trudeau liberals, right? It propagates everywhere now, and like they're failing so miserable. Even some of the diehard acolytes, right, are bailing on Trudeau, including his campaign manager, right? It's so hilarious, folks. And there's still a few of them, authoritarian so-called progressives, right? What a term. That's the thing with the left. They use all these terms that completely misrepresents and is the antithesis of what they actually stand for, right? Progressive, my ass, regressive for sure, right? But yeah, it's funny to see how, like, now that all the rats are fleeing the sinking ship, aka the Trudeau Liberals or the Biden/Harris fucking team down below. But it's funny now how this is coming out today, and I'm watching intently how this is all unfolding because yeah, this ain't my first rodeo. I've seen this shit play out before, right? But which is, I guess, why I call this one Russiagate Redux, right? Yeah, it's just hilarious. But it's funny. You scroll on your Twitter feed, or your X feed, I should say, you're scrolling and you'll see all this bullshit in terms of the established media pumping out the Russiagate narrative, the Canada version of it, anyways, right? Although this does have an American foundation too. Like this is both American and Canadian, right? There's Canadian part of it, there's an American part of it. But then you're seeing right after that, I don't know if they're the paid influencers, right? Because we all know the way they exist. I covered all that stuff in past videos and live streams. But now we're starting to see right under that, you scroll through all this bullshit where they're saying, oh, these Russian backed influencers in Canada, right? And then after that, you're getting all these other, like I say, accounts, right? That are, oh, look at how great the liberals are. Look, well, at least the liberals aren't, Russian backed. So it's just amazing to see the coordination. That's one thing I will say about the left, right? Which is basically the same idea as like I say, just think about the type of effeminate dominant traits, which represents, not just a lot of women who comprise now the ruling class, but these very effeminate or beta type men, right? It's all about propagating bullshit, rumors, right? Gossip, right? He said, she said, um, just pure rhetoric based bullshit because yeah, where they lack, they got no physical prowess. They're a bunch of weak inept beta fucks and feminists, like I say. So all they got at their disposal is this a never-ending onslaught of insults, diatribe, propaganda, and empty baseless rhetoric to try to point out, look at how terrible our opponents were, because that's all they've got. Fuck, that is literally all they've got. They're so scared to death of their opponents because what it is in reality, they recognize that the people that they're against, right, whether they want to call them right wingers, they don't even really call them right wingers, they're the far right, right, or fascists, or Nazis, which is so hilarious because Trudeau liberals and his whole team and everyone in the House of Commons stood, remember, twice, full-throated applause, standing ovation to an actual Nazi, but they love to pump up the narrative. Like I say, projection is the name of their game, folks. It's the name of the game, right? But it's hilarious to see them going on about that stuff and trying to pair as if Lauren Chen, Roman millennial, who's been around, her channel was around long before any of this shit, right? They're some of the stuff that they're talking about doesn't even go any further back than what, 2021, 2022? Right, in terms of the supposed connection, how far removed it is, whatever, but they could try to tie all that in nicely, right? But Lauren Chen and Lauren Sutherland have been around for fucking long before that. And then even when they say, oh, yeah, but look, they used to go on the Russian television. Well, here's the thing. When your own propagandist fucking media outlets in your own country, the place you live, completely hate you, loathe you, would just as soon see you die than give you a platform to spew your voice or to use your voice or to spread your ideas or your pushback against certain narratives or propaganda. I guess, yeah, you got to go somewhere to try to get your message out there, right? And prior to the real meteoric rise of some of these free speech platforms under like Elon Musk, aka X or Rumble, which did not exist, yes, a lot of people who were against the current ruling establishment had to go and use sites such as RT to try to at least get their message out there, right? And I mean, what the fuck? But that doesn't mean, right? It's hilarious, right? But I will say in terms of that, and I'm not hating on any of these people, but I will say, oh, give myself a little pat on the back. Yeah, I haven't made no money, right? I haven't made a fucking, like, other than the few $100 once in a while that I might get from YouTube back in the day. Although today I don't even monetize my videos, so I don't get shit. And I never get enough views on my Rumble channel to actually, it hasn't accounted or amounted to enough to even pay me at one time yet. So, but in a way, it's just great because, yeah, I basically say a lot of the same things. Yeah, I'm against fucking Ukraine. You're never going to find no bullshit connection to me and Russia, no matter how many fucking times you try to tie shit together, right? So I don't know. Like I say, I got to give myself a pat on the back. Is yeah, I have not enriched myself. I haven't had as much of the connections, right, and the outreach with some of these other much more popular figures, right, in the the anti-establishment or counter-establishment or alternative media outlets or alternative media influencers, if you want to call them, whatever the hell you want to call them, right? But yeah, I basically say the exact, and I have said the same thing. The only difference being is they can't tie any of that shit with me in Russia. So I guess in a way, yeah, I haven't made any money, but they're going to work much, much harder. Matter of fact, well, it's basically, I've made it so it's impossible, right, for them to ever try to fuck with my reputation in terms of trying to tie me to being connected with any foreign government or entity, right, in terms of, going against like whatever the hell it is. And that's the other thing too. When you think about that, the funny part is, oh, what? So some other platforms are giving these people an ability to get their voices or their ideas out there. But that just goes to show you how much of a big old fail, how weak, how inept, the propagandists in our country are. They can't even handle competition. They know that they suck so bad. They know that the bullshit rhetoric that they espouse is so weak-kneed and so faulty and full of fucking holes. They're kind of like Swiss cheese. That's like, oh, we don't dare allow other people to hear other voices, because even if you want to call them propagandists, apparently they're much, much better at it than our propagandists, right? Well, I won't claim them. They're not my propagandists, but the ones that are the propagandists who spew all the bullshit, to prop up our ruling class, right? Not like I'm a fan of fucking Russia or China or any, but that's the other thing. Actually, talk about Russia and China. How funny is it that the narrative is all directed towards Russia now, right? Meanwhile, all summer long, what was the big fucking story that actually had CSIS pointing out and bringing up all this evidence of actual and wittingly, right? Remember, wittingly and willingly, some of the MPs in Canada, although that's all top secret, not allowed to find out who they are, but apparently there's actual proof that they actually did work in some way, in some capacity, for the communist government in China to try to upend our elections or to skew it in favor of, and guess where though, right? To help prop up the Trudeau Liberals. But funny how you're not hearing anything from the Trudeau Liberals that's anti-China or anti-Chinese, directed influencers. No, it's about Russia. And why is that? You know why it is. Because once again, China is on side, or at least certain segments or part of it was on side with the Trudeau Liberals, at least for a while, right? Or sure as hell seemed that way. I mean, Trudeau even said himself that he's a big fan of China's basic dictatorship, right? That cozied up to Xi Jinping. Xi Jinping, what he even had a little nickname for him, Little Potato, right? Little Dictator, right? Yeah, Trudeau, the fucking dictator, right? No wonder they're fucking, they admire, have admiration for each other, right? But now it's all about the Russia. The Russians are coming. The Russians are coming. What is this, fucking Cold War era 2.0? And hilarious, like as if I or anyone like Lauren Chan or or Lauren Southern or Cat Canada. And yeah, I sent out, I couldn't do it with Lauren Southern. You can't message her on X. I tried. There's no ability for me to message her. So I don't know. Anyways, but I did reach out to Lauren Chen and Cat Canada. And a matter of fact, if anyone else is being implicated with this bullshit story that's now being propagated by the establishment media and parroted by the ruling establishment, is any one of you folks, if you want to, I'll give you a platform to say whatever you've got to say, right? And I'm not going to play you gotcha shit. I mean, I'll just ask normal questions like anyone else that would be concerned about this stuff. But yeah, I'll give you the ability to defend yourself, and I'm more than willing. I won't shy away from this stuff. You can come onto my channel. I'll give you the platform, right? To say what you got to say to defend yourself without having to use your own channel or whatever, because it might be deleted now or being heavily scrutinized or whatever the hell, right? But yeah, I like I say, because to me it's just so crazy when they try to attribute like malice by sheer fact that you and some foreign entity might share a common hatred for the ruling class in this country, right? And maybe have common interest in some way, in some regard. What would he fucking do? Like a perfect example with the Ukraine thing. Yeah, no. Me, my wife, my sons, my future daughter-in-law, none of them, anyone I care about, or any Canadian for that matter, should be forced to pay for this fucking bullshit that's happened halfway around the fucking world. That really, I mean, they could try to say, oh, it's to protect our democracy. Oh, really? Fucking, funding and arming, a massive conflict between two Eastern European fucking nations, right? And them fucking killing each other, a lot of death. Like, I don't want to have nothing to do with paying for any of that shit. I'm completely against it. And not just because of that. That's a good enough reason for me. The morality of, I don't want to fucking fund the murdering of whether it's actual genuine combatants or the countless fucking innocent people who die as a consequence of these fucking stupid wars and conflicts, right? But in addition to that, I'm also wise and astute enough to the fact that I've been paying attention. Unlike most fucking people, I pay enough attention. I know what the hell took place over there. I know all about the basically quasi coup that the U.S. funded and backed. I know all about what was her Newland, Victoria Newland, basically saying who they're going to put in positions or appoint there in terms of setting up the new Ukrainian government. I'm all familiar with all that shit. So no, they can't play that stuff with me. And once again, they got nothing that they could ever throw at me, and they won't ever have any, because I won't give them any of that fucking fodder. Like I say, sure, I'll still remain poor. I won't be getting any large sums of money. Or this is another reason too, folks. I've had countless examples. I could show you, matter of fact, if I took the time, maybe someday I will. I could show you. I think I did it in a past live stream, actually. The countless examples where I've had opportunities to be sponsored, right? Have all those sponsored things paid, advertisement embedded into my videos or my live streams. And I could have enriched myself to a small degree, or who knows how that would have worked out. Or I could have tried to make all these connections with these large voices or people that have the dominant voices out there. But once again, to me, one thing I can say is I trust myself. I don't know one iota who the fuck I can trust other than myself. I have no idea. There's no possible way that I could know. So I kind of just do my thing, be damned with reaching out to make these big connections with some of these, dominant players, right, in the alternative media space. And that's another thing. Not like anyone has ever reached out to me. So what the fuck? Why do I always have to put my foot forward, right? I mean, whatever. But anyways, like I say, not hating on them or whatever, because I do recognize. But I mean, that's another thing. We're all fallible, imperfect human beings. So, is it possible some mistakes were made in terms of trying to keep everything airtight? Maybe, right? Maybe some things slipped through the crack. Although, once again, I don't believe for a minute that this was ever done with any fucking malice or ill intentions. It's just people, once again, who are sick and fucking tired of having their content suppressed and censored, right? I mean, in Canada, the propagandists in Canada are so fucking pathetic and so weak. They even, as soon as the Ukrainian invasion thing happened, they basically took RT off the air. Although, if you got an internet connection, especially if you got Starlink like I got, and have Odyssey as a as a social media platform, I can watch fucking RT videos all day long. Not that I really care to, but every once in a while I'll check them out, once in a while just to see, what kind of rhetoric and propaganda is being espoused or spewed, right? Because yeah, I'd like to hear what's going on from, whether you're talking about the friendlies, although these days, who the fuck are the friendlies other than libertarians, anarchists, voluntarists, and actual critical thinkers, right? Or some people that identify as classical liberal, maybe some of them. But yeah, we don't have much in terms of friendlies, in terms of people that care about and are willing to support each other in terms of defending, right, freedom of speech and all those Western values that are supposed to matter so much, that now the ruling establishment, all the left, and even some of these, so-called conservatives, right, some of those in the counter, they don't seem to care a whole lot about fucking freedom of speech. It seems to, like I say, this has degraded, the whole discourse these days has degraded to, once again, this fucking bullshit, which to me is just so, it makes me sick to see it degrade to the point of we're back to left versus right. We're back to team red versus team blue without any nuance or any gray area in between. No, and why that is because, like I say, people like myself, no, we're not being canceled. We're just being completely fucking ignored, which, okay, fine. But once again, you're only going to be able to ignore me for so fucking long. Because like eventually, well, at this rate, who knows, might be the last man standing at some point in time, right? And I'll be waiting. But either way, yeah, I'm just going to get to covering some of this stuff. I've got a whole bunch of examples to use. Here, let me just check out this comment there. Someone's already in here. Freeland has made millions off Ukraine. Oh, no doubt about it. And thanks for joining the live stream there, John. Really appreciate that. Oh, yeah, it's not just Freeland. Like I say, it's just hilarious. It's hilarious to think that these fucking people, and think of the countless examples of just how tyrannical and how much propaganda the ruling establishment and their media mouthpieces have been, propagating for years and years and years in our countries. And yet they're going to play this game. They're really going to go, like I said, they're so desperate. The desperation. Can you smell it? Oh, yeah. That's pretty pungent too. That's the reek. That's the stench of desperation right there, folks. And like I say, they're fucking, man, they're sweating fucking bullets these days. Just so scared that they're going to lose their grip on power. And what's always their answer? Oh, somebody said some things that I don't like or aligns with some foreign actors that they're against us, right? What's the punishment? Is not words against them, because, if people are just saying words, well, what would be an appropriate response but to use other words to counter their narratives, right? But no, it's always to escalate to something. What are you going to do? Fine them, right? Penalize them, criminally charge them, or maybe throw them in cages, right? That's a response for people saying some words you don't like or having opinions that you don't like. Like, talk about escalation, right? And that is what the left, and don't make no mistake, if the right were the ones dominating all the halls of power and institution these days, they'd be doing the same fucking thing, because power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. And what we're seeing today is the left has that kind of absolute power in terms of our institutions, like the media, education, and even in the political realm. So they're the ones that are taking full control and using all that power and just clobbering anyone that disagrees with them, even in the slightest, even some of their own peeps. They'll clobber you over the head the minute you try to disagree with them or offer anything that doesn't parrot the narrative that they want to espouse. And we're seeing it time and time again. And the fact that they think that that's going to work, like I say, think about it. Who's that going to work on? At this point in time, with all the fucking information to point out all the hypocrisy, the lies, the rhetoric, and the propaganda espoused by the establishment hacks, the fact that they think that people are going to fall for that, I mean, think about what you have to be to live in 2024, this time in 2024, with all that history, all the lies that have been revealed, right? All the so-called conspiracies that have been proven to be absolutely true, right? Who the fuck would still follow the lefties these days, or fall for the rhetoric or their own propaganda, right? I mean, you got to be pretty fucking stupid, woefully informed, and have had your fucking head stuck in the sand for, I don't know what, the last decade at least, right? So that's the people that they want to fill up the ranks with. You have them. They're yours. Matter of fact, people like myself wouldn't have anything to do with those fucking knuckle dragging losers and morons or low information types, right? Like I say, I see, and it's not that I'm a big fan of some of these right wingers, right? Some of them, yeah, like I say, some of them maybe I would have some disagreements with too, and maybe not be the too outright friendly with them. But I'm not talking the ones that are actually contained within this thing. I personally, I've never had no problem with anyone like Lauren Southern. There's some things they've said where it's like I might disagree with it, and then bringing and even the stuff, some of the stuff in terms of bringing their personal stuff to the forefront and projecting all that stuff. It's like whatever. I don't really care a whole lot for the that kind of stuff. I like to discuss ideas predominantly, and especially ideas as it pertains to freedom. But once again, it doesn't change anything. These are just people who, once again, are saying almost the same kind of things that I would say, but yet somehow the media is going to completely destroy anything that they say or attempt to try to destroy anything that they say by sheer fact of, oh, look, you're friends with this person, right? Or you're being paid by whatever. Like I say, guaranteed that these people would be still, have the same kind of opinions, whether they're getting paid for them or not. And who's to say what we're seeing today actually is a bunch of them, like Tim Pool even came out and said, I think was that he didn't fucking know anything about that Russia or RT or this Tenet Media or whatever was being backed by RT or a Russia outlet platform or whatever. But once again, the idiots in the establishment, they're so desperate, they're going to try whatever they can to try to eliminate any competition in the propaganda or rhetoric space. Well, like I say, see how that turns out. Well, actually, it will be interesting to see how that does actually turn out. But I have a bunch of articles, but the first thing I wanted to deal with, and I just want to do it in snippets there, is about 11-minute video from fucking CBC News and these fucking losers. Like I say, just the visuals alone to see, like I say, look who our opponents are, right? Just take a gander. Here, let me just bring this stuff up here. Bring it on to the screen. Screen share. There we go. There we go. Let me just make sure everything is all good here. Let me see. Could I change up how the layout is? Maybe put myself down here. Maybe if I do this. Yeah, we'll do that. We'll try a little switch up on the old layout here, and then might as well full screen this video, and then I'll just play it here and kind of go with deal with the kind of bullshit they spouse here. You get ready for this? Get your barf bags ready. Get your barf bags ready, folks. You're going to need them.
A Canadian-owned social media channel that the U.S. Justice Department alleges is a key part of a Russian influence scheme is now off YouTube. YouTube said Tenet Media violated its community guidelines. Tenet Media was founded by Canadian Lauren Chen and her husband Liam Donovan last year. YouTube is also taking down 4 separate media channels owned by Chen. Chen is a right-wing commentator with posts supporting Donald.
Actually, maybe I will switch that back up there. Bring this. Yeah, I'm just going to put this back because I was kind of blocking a little bit of it in the bottom part of the screen. So let me just fix that here. There we go.
Donald Trump and siding with Russia over the war in Ukraine. And the U.S. Department of Justice indictment doesn't name Chen or her husband, and they don't face charges. But as the CBC's Evan Dyer tells us, Tenet.
So I mean, right there at the very beginning of this, so they haven't been named, they haven't been charged in terms of anything about this, but yeah, the Canadian media, right, haven't been named or charged or accused of doing anything illegal. But this is the way the media wants to cover it, right?
Is allegedly central to a Kremlin scheme to use millions of dollars to influence American public opinion and the U.S. presidential election.
One of the greatest enemies of our nation right now is Ukraine.
Influencers like Tim Pool, who worked with Tenet Media, were clear about who they didn't like and about who they did.
Trump, remember what they've done to you. Remember what they were trying to do to you. And please, please destroy these people once you get into office.
A U.S. federal indictment says those opinions were bought and paid for by the Kremlin, which funneled $10 million in part through roaming.
Bought and paid for. Like it's like I say, as if Tim Pool and Lauren Chen, the Roman millennial, that's what she used to go by years ago, as if they wouldn't have that opinion anyways, right? You know, you could have opinions in the absence of money, But yeah, if you get paid for it, it's kind of a good thing, right? It's like as if these hacks, right? That's the fucking hilarious part. You won't see any of these fucking dipshits, this fucking moron from fucking CBC. You won't see him doing anything for fucking free. He wants to get money he wants to get paid for espousing his fucking form of propaganda, but he's awful mad and resentful. What it is these folks probably make more money than these hacks in the establishment media, and the establishment media are like, well, that's not fair. Fucking resentful fucking losers. And like I say, just look at the man. The man is if you looked up loser in the dictionary, I think they would probably have a picture of this guy, right? I mean, kind of seems that way. Anyways, let me just play a little bit more of this.
Millennial, a
I don't
Quebec
know if I
company
ever
belonging to
watched
Canadian
them. Like, I
influencer
think I watched
Lauren
them
Chen
sometimes
and her
when I
husband
was
Liam
in
Donovan,
Kenya, but,
who
like,
then used her Tennessee company, Tenet Media, to pay MAGA influencers like Dave Rubin, Benny Johnson, Tim Pool, and Canadian Lauren Southern to spread the Kremlin's pro-Trump, anti-Ukraine messages.
We have not seen an adversary attempt to influence an American election to this degree ever before.
This former FBI director of counterintelligence says the Russian president
And to act like we've never seen anything like this before. There was like these 3 chicks, Cat Canada, right? In terms of the Canadian connection, right? You got Cat Canada, you got Lauren Chen and Lauren Southern, and who's the male guy? I don't even know if there is a male influencer being implicated in this particular so-called scandal. But it's like there's these 3 chicks, these 3 white chicks, and they're the most gravest threat that we've ever had because, by a couple, I don't know, spots or some foreign entity are paying them some money, but they're basically just espousing words. They're saying a bunch of words that we don't like, mind you, right? But that's the gravest threat. We've never seen anything like this, which just goes to show you how fucking milquetoast any opposition to the ruling establishment has never been in this country prior to these days. And, I got to say, I'm fucking really happy about that. Matter of fact, I'm happy about it, but in other ways, like, well, that means we got a long way to go before we ever wait till these fucking establishment hacks realize just how fucking things can get much, much, much worse than just 3 chicks saying some words you don't like. Or espousing some ideas or opinions or perspectives that are counter to your own. Oh, the humanity. Oh, believe me, you little bitches, you little betas, you little feminist types, you wokesters, right? You collectivists, you petty tyrants. Oh, things can get a whole lot worse. Yeah, but keep whipping up that hatred. Keep whipping up that division. I'm sure things are going to get better tomorrow as a consequence, as a result, right? Don't worry, you guys will be all fine. There'll never be any backlash or blowback to you completely misrepresenting and blowing things so out of proportion that you're whipping up this kind of hatred and division. No, there will never be any negative consequences for you because you're aligned with the Trudeau liberals. Like the most inept motherfucking ruling class I've ever met in my life. Even if I was a lefty, I'd be hanging my head in shames like, this is the best we got, right? If you're an authoritarian collectivist on the left, you're like, really though? The Trudeau liberals, Chrystia Freeland, like all these other stupid fucking retards that work and function underneath of Trudeau, these losers, the Stephen Guilbeault, right? I mean, come on. These are the fucking losers of losers. Matter of fact, there's losers I've known in my life that would say, oh man, you call me a loser? No, these are losers, right? And I would, I'd have to step back and say, you know what? I agree. And it's a sad reality that there's leftist Canadians are so desperate themselves that they will align with these losers. And I don't know, apparently they're willing to go down, right? And that down to their graves with them on that sinking ship that is the modern Liberal Party, right? Under the leadership of Justin Trudeau. And believe me, it wouldn't be any better no matter who the hell stepped into that leadership position, because they still have to be the type of person who's willing to represent the status quo and the ruling establishment, right? Right? They're not even allowed to be able to think critically. That's the thing about authoritarian collectivists. You have to align. It's a race to the lowest common denominator, right? Yeah, like I said, I wouldn't want nothing to do with that shit, and I recognize the weakness, the ineptness of those who do. Anyways, let me just play a little bit more of this. And I will after this. I'm going to get to the point and show you some of this stuff happening on X because it's quite interesting, very revealing.
President will be infuriated to see this operation.
Oh no, there's Putin. Where's the horns? They're all, and that's the other thing. They're so fucking scared of Putin too, right? What the hell? I'm sure fucking Trudeau. There's some Trudeau liberals that even the sheer thoughts of Putin keeps them up at night. And yeah, listen, I'll tell you, Putin or no one, no one's paying me to say this, but I'm grateful for the fact that some character, fucking some dictator in a foreign country, keeps the dictators in my own country up at night and scares them shitless. Kind of happy about that, to be honest with you, right? Because yeah, I loathe the ruling class in my country just as much as Putin does. Oh no, that makes me I'm aligned with Putin. Oh no, the humanity. It's so funny how they try to make these connections, right? They won't counter the ideas though, right? You won't see them counter any of the ideas, even throughout this whole fucking video. You will not hear them deal with any of the ideas, opinions, or perspectives, confront them straight on, which even some of the establishment media has had to do in the past, report on how fucking crazy mass immigration is becoming, and even average Canadians, right? Even the silent majority is getting fucking fed up with that shit. But they won't deal with that. They won't touch that third rail or the whole Ukraine thing. Yeah. Not seeing quite as many of those Ukrainian flags in everybody's bios these days. That's probably people are like that did start supporting them early on and fell for the rhetoric or the propaganda from our own media outlets. Are finally realized, oh fuck, you duped me. Damn it. Right? A lot of people are waking up this shit, but yeah, they still got some morons and losers in the ranks. But like I say, they see that their ranks are shrinking time and time again, and they're scared. They're running shitless. And now this is the desperation that is a consequence of that.
Rolled up.
The message the U.S. government is sending with these indictments is, we see you, we're on to you, and we're going to call this out.
The indictment says
they're
users
going
were
to
paid
call
up
it
to
out.
$100,000 per video.
Ooh.
Some have since declared themselves victims of the scheme.
I mean, don't get me wrong. That's some nice cheddar right there. $100,000 per video, right? But I mean, if you look at them, the videos like this one here's got 1 million fucking views. So I think when you're getting 1 million views on your videos, I think that's worth quite a bit of money all on its own, isn't it? Whether you're getting paid by YouTube or or Russia television or whatever. But yeah, popular content tends to make money. Oh no. Once again, though, what it is these videos and shit get way more views. Now, I mean, just go through CBC's own fucking content, and you'll see it's like, and CBC is propped up to the tune of what, $1 billion+ a year. Well, that force us taxpayers, right? Us tax serves, wage slaves, to prop up this fucking propaganda outlet, and yet, even with all that at their disposal, even with their connections to big government, their viewership pales in comparison to some of these social media influencers, right, in the alternative space. Once again, it's just about envy, resentment, and maintaining power. Those are the two dominant things that drives these leftists.
Who had no idea the money came from Russia. Previously anti-Ukraine Tim Pool even put a Ukrainian flag in his bio. But owners Chen and Donovan allegedly billed the Russians directly. CBC News reached out to Chen, but she declined to comment.
The charging documents make it quite clear that they knew who they were dealing with.
So far, though, the FBI has charged only Russians, not the Canadians and Americans.
The two main messages.
That's so hilarious. Like I say, and we all know just how much the fucking Biden administration, although, whether you want to call it the Obama or the fucking Harris administration, I mean, the leftist administration, right? The deep state, although it's not even just leftist. Think about it. This is hilarious. I don't know if you heard this yet, but yeah, Dick Cheney, the neocon, George Bush's fucking right-hand man, right? Actually, the man that fucking basically, I think, was the true leader in that little duo, right? But yeah, Dick Cheney, the war hawk, the neocon, right? The Republican, the neocon, Dick Cheney, came out offering his full-throated support and endorsement of Kamala Harris, a Democrat, right? I mean, that alone should tell you, right? When you got a career neocon supporting the fucking long-term so-called progressive the Democratic establishment, that just goes to show you, folks. The establishment, it's not left versus right. The true us versus them are the ruling classes versus those of us who are individuals just want to fucking live our lives and be free of government, top-down government mandates, edicts, and constant infringements and encroachments on our inherent rights and freedoms. That's really the true divide these days, right? But the fact that Dick Cheney is throwing his support behind that alone, that should be enough to show you, folks. It's the establishment. It truly is the establishment, and they will join forces. Make no mistake about it. They will join forces. Do anything. There's no mechanism of power that they won't reach for, right? They will escalate things. If they don't recognize one thing's working, right, which they've seen. I mean, they've tried so many attempts now. Think about the myriad of attempts, and in particular in terms of COVID, and yet they haven't beaten people like myself or like your Lauren Chans or your Lauren Southern or any. They haven't beaten us down to the point where we'll just sit down, shut up, and go away, and shy away from these controversies. So they'll keep ramping up, they'll keep escalating, and we'll see how far they'll take this. But this part here, I mean, the fact that they're trying to now criminalize people or attempting to for having an opinion that they don't like, right? To me, that's just, and the only reason why Russia is being sanctioned these days is because, once again, they're pissed off that their little plan, their globalist plan, is being disrupted by some actors in alternative states. Once again, sometimes the enemy of my enemy, can help me even in some regard. Not that I wish them to, but it's just reality. If two people, right, are against one person because of whatever the reason for it, which is always and forever going to be the case. Well, you can't help that, right? I can't help the fact that Putin, and I agree on the fact that Canadian support in Ukraine is really, or being forced to support Ukraine is really stupid and against my rights, against my freedom of association. Don't try to associate me with this fucking bullshit. I don't want nothing to do with it. Now, Putin has his own completely different reasons, right? But we both align in terms of, I'm not a fan of the ruling establishment forcing me, plundering my income, the incomes of my family members, the incomes of those I love, to pay to sustain years now of war and conflict where, I don't know how many thousands, hundreds of thousands of people are dying, whether you're talking about Russians or Ukrainians. Yeah, don't force me to fund that fucking shit. But once again, this is the rhetoric that they're going with. I guess, like I say, when all you've got at the end of the day how's that go again? Everything looks like a nail. Well, I guess when you only have a hammer, it's your tool, right? Everything better start looking like nails, kind of thing. Anyways, I probably butchered that a little bit. But anyways, let me play it a little bit more here.
Messages Tenet Media was allegedly paid to propagate were vote for Trump and defund Ukraine. But there was also a general directive to stoke anger around immigration, inflation, to say the country was broken and headed for,
as if the immigration problem or inflation. What? We just would have never figured that out if it wasn't for the Russians paying us. Wait a minute. No Russians ever paid me nothing. I figured all that out and been talking about mass immigration, the great replacement, inflation. Been talking all that stuff for years, and I got proof of it. Look for my past live streams and videos. Once again, nobody fucking paid me. Didn't need anyone else to explain that to me. Yeah. When I go to the grocery store, or when my wife actually, picks up the groceries, and I see or hear about the bill, or I see the price of everything else that I fucking purchase, and all that shit, or I know of people who are paying, like my oldest son, who are paying ridiculous fucking rent, just to rent a place, how exorbitant that is. Yeah. I don't need no Russians. I don't need no external actors or foreign influencers or anybody to tell me that, that's a bad thing. Yeah. And I'm against it. Right? Holy shit. Like this, tell you the truth, when I do these live streams, sometimes things like, why do I even waste my time? This should be so fucking blatantly obvious. Well, it would be if more and more people were at least just paying even the remotely close attention to how things are unfolding and playing out. Really, a person like myself, as a matter of fact, your Lauren Chand, your Lawrence, really, if people would just take the fucking personal responsibility of properly informing themselves and learning some shit, right? If you want to live in a democracy, well, you should learn some shit so you get a properly informed opinion on these things. And then people like them or people like myself could go about doing our fucking regular things in the day and not have to cover this shit at all. But this is the problem, is you have these establishment hacks, these establishment institutions who have captured the minds quite easily and quite readily, it seems, of a substantial or a sizable portion of our population. And we recognize just how perilous it has become and a threat to our inherent rights and freedoms, especially after COVID and the Emergencies Act. We've seen this. Like, the writing was on the wall long before that, but we've seen how it's playing out. So, of course, we feel compelled to at least try our best to, once again, to do what? To get our words, our opinions, our perspectives, our ideas out there. Oh, the humanity. Because really, that at the end of the day, all of the story, all it is, the most severe accusation lobbed at anyone so far is that they are saying things that we don't like. No accusations of any violence or any theft of any sort or espionage. Nothing. Just they're saying things that we don't like. They're having opinions on certain topics or subject matter or policies as it pertains to politics or government, right? That we just disagree with it, and we just can't have that out there. Fucking petty tyrants, fucking losers. Anyways, let me play a little bit more here.
For civil conflict, anything that would weaken national unity and drag America down. Evan Dyer, CBC News, Ottawa.
And of course, any foreign country, yes, right? Just like in your family. If you're having a conflict in your family, other people might be able to take advantage of the fact that there's conflict in your family. And they might be able to do things to help whip up that. But it only happens if you and your family are already at odds, right? I mean, come on. If you and your family or you and your society are as unified as, the media would like to pretend or suggest, right? Then no external influence could fucking do anything to hamper or hinder or harm that relationship. People can say anything they fucking want about, my wife or my kids, but because I have a close connection, close relationship and have a better idea of what they do than others, nothing they could offer could ever cause me or sway me to have any different opinion or perspective. That just goes to show how important it is to make sure you're doing the hard work of building those close relationships. But yeah, the fact that the establishment hacks and these establishment institutions are constantly, never-endingly clobbering anyone over the head that even so-called or even somewhat question their narrative. The fact that they're willing to clobber them over the head time and time again, and then they get all upset and shocked and just in awe of the fact that, I can't believe these people went and are now talking to people that I consider even worse than them, that are even more of an opponent or opposition to me. Really? You fuckers literally pushed them there. You fucking almost gave them the bus ticket, right? You're basically the one that called the cab for them, right? Or the Uber so that they could get to that destination. You fucking pushed them over the edge. And yet you're like, just in shock. I can't believe it. Well, believe it. And like I say, the shit you're doing right now, if you think that this is going to make things any better, if you don't think that this is actually going to get these people to actually double down or even now have more fodder to use against you, well, once again, like I say, this inept, look at this guy, another one, this guy right here and the interviewer. Look at these fucking morons. Look at them. They are the face, the eyes, the ears, they are the epitome of these delusional authoritarian collectivists who I guess they've just had so much power at their disposal for so long. It kills them. And I can't believe that anyone was stupid enough to give these fucking fools any kind of fucking time of day or any premise or position of authority anyways to influence you in any way. These losers, if you're stupid enough to allow these losers to influence you, well, you're a waste of space and sperm as far as I'm concerned. And you should strive to have some real self-esteem, right? don't be egotistical, but at least have enough self-esteem that you're not fucking easily influenced by and duped by these kinds of losers, these envious and resentful losers. I'll add. All right, let me just play a little more here.
Marcus Kolga is an expert on Russian foreign
An
interference
expert?
and
He's
disinformation
an
and a senior
expert,
fellow at the
right?
McDonald.
Huh? Just like fuck. It's like you can fucking. It's like, man, I could have made a prediction, right? As a matter of fact, it's almost like it's too easy these days. I wonder if the establishment hacks whoever they bring in to parrot the narratives that they want to espouse, right? The propaganda that they want spewed. Gee, I wonder if they're going to refer to them as experts. Fucking expert at being idiots. Expert. Yes. People can be an expert in a multitude of things, right? And the only thing these people are expert at is being little puppets and lapdogs for the ruling class. They're excellent experts at that, but that it doesn't take much to do that, right? It's rational self-interest. If you're the lapdog because you're scared your master, right? You only strong, resilient individuals with a lot of courage and resolve are willing to stand up against, those in positions of power or authority, right? It takes nothing to cozy up to them, to parrot their narratives, to spew their rhetoric, right? That's the weakest, that's the most weak-kneed shit you can fucking do. And that's all these people are weak-kneed losers. Anyways, enough with the insults. I know the insults alone aren't an argument, but every once in a while, you just got to get it out. Just got to get out. You just got to acknowledge reality and point it out when you get the opportunity. And they're giving me the opportunity, so I'm just going to run with
Laurier Institute. Marcus, it's good to meet you. Thank you for joining the show today.
Thanks so much for having me on.
This is quite the web that has been revealed here. I mean, we've got this two Canadian social media influencers right in the middle of this U.S. investigation into a multi-million-dollar disinformation campaign funded by Russia. How does something like this happen?
Well, look, it's been happening for a long time. The Russians are very good at identifying these sorts of individuals and capturing them and exploiting them, using them to advance their narratives. And they've been.
Look at this guy. Look at this fucking loser. Like, this is probably that's the only thing that makes this man's day is to be able to get on to CBC and parrot the bullshit narrative. Do you like me? Do you still like me, CBC? Hey, Trudeau, can I sit on your lap? Like, at least, like I say, holy fuck, man. Oh, anyways, let's just power through this, folks. Let's power through it.
Been doing this for decades, going back to the Cold War, and certainly since 2014, that first invasion of Crimea. So, we've been monitoring a number of Canadians who have, even beyond this web, who have been contributing to Russian state media channels like RT and Sputnik. And so it was no real surprise that this information came out, this indictment came out. What is truly shocking to me, though, is number one, the dollar amounts involved, and the fact that Canadians are at the core of it. That to me was extremely surprising.
Okay, so on that, two of the names in this indictment, they've not been charged. So I do want to make that very clear. But Lauren Chen, who's an influencer known on social media.
It's hilarious. Like I say, the legal team at CBC, they would make sure, right? And this is well understood anyways, you got to get that out there so you can avoid any any potential lawsuits, right? In terms of misrepresenting or what's the libelous or whatever, all that shit, right? So they'll do that. But that takes what? Out of this whole 11-minute, 45-minute video, there might be in total 20 seconds that was used to say, by the way, they're not being charged, they're not being criminally indicted for anything, and all that stuff. And then they'll spend the rest of the 11 minutes and 25 seconds basically, painting the picture as if these people are like the devil reincarnated. It's so fucking hilarious. And the fact that, like I say, that I still can't believe that there are people alive today in 2024 in the information age that will just sit and listen to this stuff and suck it all up and take it hook, line, and sinker. It's just unbelievable. Fucking even fish are smarter than this. It's even some fish be like, I've seen this bait before. And that worm on that shiny thing, I don't know. I might try to avoid that, right? But apparently a lot of these humans are just still. Well, I don't think it's much. I actually firmly believe, and like I said, I try to talk to a lot of people so I can see like how closely aligned social media is out there as as it is, as opposed to like the real world. Is this? I talk to enough people that I don't like I say, I mean, some are easily duped, but I also recognize that it's such a low level of information, and they don't really have any skin in the game. Kind of say they'll parrot it for a while, but usually all it takes is someone like myself or anyone with any fucking knowledge or information to push back against their weak rhetoric and propaganda. And it sends their heads into a dizzy, and they just start spiraling out of control and get that cognitive dissonance. It doesn't take much. Trust me. I've experienced it. I've witnessed it. It is a reality. And really, that's why I continue to do what I do, because that's what needs to take place. That is the true bulwark against these propagandists and their own misinformation. I don't even like using that word, misinformation. It's just, yeah, people have different opinions, and yeah, everybody fucking lies, for fuck's sakes. I mean, I don't do it a whole lot, because the thing about lying is like, you got to try to remember that fucking shit. It's like, why do I want to waste any space in my memory capacity remembering a bunch of bullshit, which is why I prefer not to lie. But yeah, I've lied in my life. We all have, for fuck's sakes. And to pretend that there's anybody that's above ever fucking telling something that wasn't, 100% accurate. And that's the other thing, misinformation, especially when you're talking about politics, that word should not even exist. It shouldn't even be in the vernacular when you're talking about politics, right? Holy fuck, come on. It's just ridiculous. Now, there are some things that we can prove to be objectively true, and that's the wheelhouse for us libertarians, us philosophical minded people, right? Because we are, at the end of the day, all about truth. No, not dealing with politics, although I deal with it, but I bring truth and philosophy to counter politics. I'm not talking in the political realm. I'm not making a political position here. I'm not taking, I'm conservative. No, I'm taking a philosophically astute, sound reasoned, and logical position that is based on ethics and premises that are completely universally consistent and non-contradictory. That's what I do. That's what I bring to the table, basically in every video or any conversation or any live stream that I do. That's what I do. But these fucks, it's all about us versus them, team red versus team blue. It's a zero-sum game, which, once again, at the end of the day, a zero-sum game, an eye for an eye will leave us all blind. That's what it is. And yeah, I'm not looking to make everyone blind. I'm actually trying to get people to see things much, much clearer, much better. And hopefully from a distance, so they see things, long before they actually get to the point where we are today, where it's having a massive ramification and encroachments on our inherent rights and freedoms. You got to see this stuff. You got to prepare for this stuff. Be prepared, and you got to be able to see this stuff from afar, from a distance. You don't want to wait till it's literally on your front doorstep, folks. Anyways, let me play a little bit more here.
And her husband and business partner, Liam Donovan. It suggests in the indictment that they were aware of where the money was coming from, that their text messages, so they referred to their financiers as the Russians. But then you have a lot of the content creators who are getting big money, but claim they had no idea where it was coming from. I mean, what does the influencer's ignorance tell you about all this?
Well, I suspect that they're feigning ignorance. If you read through the indictment, I mean, it's quite clear that that the two who were indicted, these two Russians, that they were clearly directing content creation on this platform, and they would have been directly interacting with some of these individuals. So to say that they didn't see this coming, given
once again, the hilarious part, and you folks know that people like myself who basically have said a lot of the same things. To me, that this is a great argument. I'll use it for myself because I am myself, but I would even recommend people that are watching this live stream that you use examples like me, right? Or Tim Mullen or others. Because yeah, there's lots of us here in Canada. Not tremendous numbers, but there's a sizable portion of us out here they're critical thinkers, libertarians, anarchists, volunteers. And yeah, just point out and like I say, I can use myself as the example because I know myself, I know my situation, I know my background, I know the kind of things that I've done, right, and said who have I've ever aligned with or spoke to in the past, all that stuff. And I can say with 100% certainty that, yeah, I'll say the same, basically same kind of idea of things, right? In terms of pushback against the war in Ukraine or inflation or mass immigration or the great replacement or all these things. And yet they can't label me as being a paid Putin propagandist, right? So what's up with that? The idea still exists, right? And it exists in the absence of being a paid propagandist or shill. So how about you deal with the fucking ideas? But this is the thing. These losers can't deal with the idea. The minute they delve into the realm of ideas, then they know, oh, fuck, we're going to lose this one. And that's the power of the truth. That's the power of philosophy. That's the power of the ideas that libertarians like myself bring to the table. Because we make sure that, I make sure that everything I talk about is grounded in reason, logic, and philosophical concepts like, epistemology and metaphysics, ethics, and make sure things are universal, right? Non-contradictory. These fucks are the antithesis of that. So they will never step into that particular sandbox, right, with me. Never will they ever, I guarantee it. Why? Because they know they would lose immediately. Their whatever audience that they might have garnered over the years or still have left, right? Even those dumbed down fools, and I feel sorry for them. I feel sorry for a lot of them that they've been so dumbed down and so fooled by too many people in their life. I actually feel really sorry for these kinds of people. I don't attribute malice to the truly ill-informed or the woefully and inadequately informed people, the people who've been duped by propaganda such as this fucking fool. I don't really hate on them to per se. So if anyone I don't know ever watches this live stream, I want you to know that these fucking fools have duped you severely. And I know everyone wants to belong to a group or a tribe or have a national social life, right? You don't want to be isolated. But that's the thing. We libertarians, we're not. We're just much more selective in the kind of people we align with. So we might not have as huge in numbers. I have people that I associate with. I have friends. Well, these days, I don't know if I'd want to call them friends per se. I don't have like super close friends. That was something that was more typical when I was younger. But yeah, it's like if I want to go do things, I have people that I can, but I have, immediate family members that I can confide with in things that I normally would do with others, right? So it's not like being a libertarian means you have to be isolated alone, not by any stretch of the imagination. But I get how some people think that they want to be part of the dominant tribe or the dominant group. But the trick of the whole trick that they've been propagating on you folks is they're not nearly as popular as they pretend. They just have access to large bully pulpits and media institutions that gives the illusion that they're the dominant voice. But in reality, like I say, they themselves, the fact that they're willing to go on these kind of diatribes and spew this much rhetoric towards a bunch of chicks that are saying some things they disagree with, that goes to show that they even recognize their own ineptness and their shrinking influence and pool of so-called talent, right? They see their own failures, which is why they're scrambling and in desperation mode right now as we speak.
Even the dollar amounts and the fact that they were instructed to push all sorts of Kremlin-aligned narratives, to me, it doesn't really hold water.
I mean, the money's enormous, right? You have some podcasters being paid $100,000 US per episode.
So how many times have they said this? Like, what did we, we're 5 minutes, not even halfway into it, and I've heard already, 4 times, I think now, where they talk about how much money. You don't think for 1 minute, they won't say that on the air, but you don't think for 1 minute that these fucks, whether they're just thinking in their head or they're talking about it before they go live, right? Make sure their microphone's not on. But you don't think I can't believe these fuckers are making $100,000 a fucking video. I seen her on CBC. I don't even make that a year spewing this rhetoric. And I work long, hard hours to be the propagandist arm of the fucking Trudeau liberal government. And yet I can't get anywhere with that kind of money. Oh, you just know there's a lot of envy and resentment taking place there, right? And why these fools, these morons are willing to spew this kind of rhetoric, right? It's that envy and resentment that probably drives them.
like 40, 50 episodes a year, a lot of it undermining Ukraine. I mean, is that the main objective? Do you think it was to undermine support for the NATO and Western sort of defense in the war in Ukraine, or is it just general sowing of discord across the Western nations?
Yeah, well, look, there's two Russian information and influence operations generally have two primary objectives, certainly going back the past 2.5 years. So the first one, as you mentioned, is basically pushing anti-Ukrainian narratives, anti-NATO, anti-Western narratives, the kinds of narratives that might erode public support for Ukraine. And, you know, we saw the impact of that down in the United States last year, where for nearly a year, extreme right-wing elements within the Republican Party were holding up support and funding for Ukraine. So that's one objective. The second objective, and this is one that's...
So you're extreme right-wing if you want to hold up funding a foreign war. That's what extreme right-wing is, right? You got to remember, folks, like I was born in 1970, but I definitely remember the Vietnam era days. And it was the left, or people that propagated or pretended that they were left on the left, right? The liberals, right? The liberals, right? Or the so-called progressives. They were the ones that would have been the purveyors of anti-war rhetoric and messaging that said, yeah, we should be funding all these fucking, right? But think about it. Now, and it's so funny. When Russia was actually the USSR, right, during the 70s, and when they were propagating actual communism, right, trying to spread that shit all over the world, including Vietnam and Korea and places like that, boy, the left was completely like, they didn't want the Western allies or anyone to do anything against they were anti-war then. Was it really? That's the thing. If you think about it, were they really against the war and the killing, or were they just against fighting communism? Maybe the real underlying reason why they were against the wars was because they're like, hey, don't fight the communists. We want communists to come here too. Right? That seems like a much more applicable reason than some of the shit that we were told, right, by some of our thought leaders or opinion makers in the past. Well, it's definitely coming to light these days, right? The blinders are coming off these days. Like the facade, the veil has been lifted. And I gotta tell you, like I've been paying paying close attention for a long time. And yeah, now that I've watched how the sausage is made, it's like fucking even grosser, even more disgusting than I originally thought.
Been going on with the Russians, and one that the Russians...
Actually, you know what? Before I read any or listen to any more of this there, just take a small breather here. Whew. Listen to the losers is hard on the head. But anyways, let me just check on a couple more of the comments there. I did notice there's some comments, and thanks to you folks for joining the live stream today. I really do appreciate that. Hey, we got Healer in the house. Good morning from Miracle Beach, BC. Yes. What a nice name of a place, right? Miracle Beach. Almost as good as here in New Brunswick, we got a place called Lake Utopia. Right? Maybe that's where all the lefties live. I don't know. No. Seems quite barren and sparse, actually, so I highly doubt it. But yeah, Lake Utopia, Miracle Beach. Some of the names pretty cool. Pretty cool. But anyways, thanks for joining the live stream, Healer. Dave Dismantle, thank you as well. Thanks for joining the live stream, sir. The whole narrative occurs within the status paradigm, which is entirely illegitimate. Oh, one slave plantation owner is influencing the slaves of another plantation. That's so much fucking hate. That's so perfect, Dave. That is so perfect. So true. Oh no, another slave fucking owner, like the plantation owner. Yeah, they're influencing other people, right? Like it's so fucking true. And speaking of plantation owners, let me just say this, folks. I shared it a couple more times. Is the Jones Plantation. If you haven't seen the Jones Plantation movie as of yet, I can't recommend it enough. It for me, as far as I'm concerned, even the original one that Larkin Rose did on his YouTube channel all those many years ago, it was good, but once again, it was just done with basically slideshow type of picture kind of and narration. But this one is a full featured film that, like I say, very well produced, great acting, Great director. The whole thing is just top notch, like right on par with anything else you'd be familiar with out of Hollywood and stuff, right? And yet, this isn't Hollywood, the typical Hollywood bunch. This is, like I say, people who are willing to put forth a movie that is very profound and revealing in terms of what it can do to help educate, inform, enlighten you. So definitely check it out if you haven't as of yet. Jones Plantation, check it out. The Jones Plantation. And no, I'm not being paid to say this. Not a fucking dime. Matter of fact, I paid $10 to watch that movie when it first came out online. I watched it online, mind you. But yeah, I just think it's that great, right? And once again, not going to be able to find anyone fucking paying me to say it. I just say it. I just say it. I say it because it's true. They all suck. I'm with you, the Mad Catter. Right on. Thanks for joining the live stream, by the way, Mad Catter. Appreciate that. They all suck. Yes, they all do suck. Every last one of them. The whole propaganda influencing thing is fine when it is state-funded Canadian media doing it, though. Hey, it's so true, Dave. So true. Yeah. Like CBC. CBC is basically the Canadian version of RT, right? And it's like, yeah, they don't like competition, right? And because they're so inept and their messaging and the propaganda is so weak, they're like, ah, fuck. Well, they even admit, how many times have they even admitted in this particular little interview, Putin or the Russians are so good at this kind of stuff. It's like really? Well, maybe you fuckers should step up your game, step up your efforts instead of just constantly, all you people do is rely on, is there enough dumb people in this country that are willing to fall for our rhetoric? That's your strategy? Well, that's why you're failing, you fucking losers. Anyways, yeah. Oh, there's a good one. Yeah, nice username there, Thick Beaver. That's like when I see that username Thick Beaver, all I think of right away is like a 70s porn movie. Thick Beaver. That's just the kind of mental image I get, is maybe a lesbian porn scene from the 1970s, right? Thick Beaver. Shit, that's some funny stuff. But anyways, I didn't even, sorry, I got to read your comment. I was so that's so funny, your username. I forgot to read the actual comment. Nobody makes a stir about CBC receiving money from communist dictatorship for their far left commentary. Exactly, right? Well, I mean, people like us say it, but once again, we don't have enough of an audience for people to see us, which is why, like I say, folks, it's kind of important that people like myself, once again, I'm a little pat on the back here, right? I try to do all the right things. And as much as sometimes it feels like it's kind of counterintuitive and maybe harming myself or my reach in some way, and in some ways it definitely is. But then there's times in situations like this where it's like, fuck, I guess it was probably good I continued to do things the way I do, and basically rely on myself for the most part. Because yeah, like a lot of people can spew a lot of things, but if there's no way for me to actually verify and trust with 100% certainty, some of these people are now trying to align with each other because you never know who they are. You never know what the fuck's going on. But yeah, it does at least tell me that my strategy so far seems like a damn pretty good strategy. So yeah, anything that any of you folks can do to, maybe try to pump up my channels and my social media content a little bit, because once again, at the very least, I can guarantee you this. You'll never, ever have to worry about, oh shit, now they're trying to tie me into supporting and sharing and spreading information by Bennett, the paid Russian Putin propagandist, right? That'll never happen. Never, right? Never, ever. So there's that, right? There's that. Imagine the Gen Xers' perception on this shit. We don't cater to victims. Yeah, well, I mean, this is the thing. When it comes to Gen Xers, a lot of us, we are the ones, I think we still, are a minority in numbers because our generation was much smaller than, let's say, the boomer generation. And I think even smaller than the millennials in terms of actual numbers. But you can definitely say with absolute certainty that Gen Xers, because of the way we live, because of the way of our upbringing, the time frame, right? And the independence that we had at our disposal, we are separated from a lot of our our counterparts in different aspects of demographics and generations. But once again, there's only a small portion of us that are actually out here and vocal on social media. So we're fairly large in numbers out there in terms of the silent majority, but in terms of those of us who are active in terms of talking about this stuff, we're still quite a small number. But I think our ranks are growing on a regular basis, which I can't be any more happy for. Most aren't Canadian, so there's that, my friend. Yeah, right on. I'm not exactly sure where exactly that was, but anyways, thanks for chiming in there again. I vote Putin for prime minister. Kidding. Yeah, it's so funny. I mean, that's the thing. To me, would it be that much worse? It actually would be a good example to show just how fucking penny vindictive and tyrannical Trudeau is. If you could install someone like Trudeau or Putin here in Canada, you'd find out like, yeah, there's some areas you might be a little more harsh, might be a little more authoritarian, right? Definitely have a little bit more strength and resolve in terms of his character. That's for fucking sure, comparison to Trudeau. But I mean, I haven't heard too much. I mean, there's some examples I've seen in the media where Putin has cracked down on some of his opponents, but I don't know. You might be able to find an example or two. I can't say with any certainty that there's none, but going full on tyrannical, seizing bank accounts, locking up and imprisoning, charging, sending mindless, like thousands and thousands of mindless order followers and thugs, nameless, badgeless ones to beat down peaceful protesters who were protesting already authoritarian mandates and political edicts, right? That Trudeau implemented, aka the Emergency Act and the travel mandates in terms of the vaccine thing, right? That affected truckers and much more than truckers, but in particular the truckers. I mean, there's a lot of dictatorial countries that didn't go quite that authoritarian, did they? Just going to read a few more comments, and I'm going to get back into that video here. Actually, let me throw in the glasses here just for a second. All I can say is I picked a real bad time to quit smoking weed. Yeah. I hear you, Mad Catter, but you know what? Tell you the truth, in a way, here's a counter to that. Actually, it might be the best time, because if you can deal with all this bullshit that's happening lately, and there's been a lot, right? With the whole Harris fucking thing down in the US, and then with the ramping up with this kind of bullshit. And there's lots of stuff, in the inflation story and the mass immigrant. Man, if you can deal with all that shit and be able to stay off the weed, well, then if you can get through that, right, then you can pretty much get through almost anything. So, in a way, like I say, I'm just trying to show you the glass half full side of things rather than the glass half empty, right? Think of it in a different perspective, that if you can handle quitting weed now, you got this shit, right? You got this shit. But yeah, good on you for doing it. Well, I mean, it's up to you. Obviously, if you think that weed is something that maybe has been hindering you in some way, and it definitely can. I'll just say as someone who has partaken a few times in my life myself, I got to tell you, weed can be a hindrance. It can be a benefit at times too. If you just want to tune shit out, put yourself in a much calmer state of mind, it's definitely beneficial in that way in some regards. But it also, for people like me, I don't know why, I just find it such a huge demotivator or demotivational type of thing. I don't feel like doing a whole lot if I'm smoking weed, to be honest with you. And that might be the case for you. And if it's been a hindrance to you in some regard, then yeah, maybe it's okay, to lay off that and do what you need to do. But good for you on whatever choice you make there, Mad Catter. Or yeah, Mad Catter. Yeah, right on. The U.S., the biggest regime change and political unrest machine, complain about someone else doing the same thing. People are just so stupid they fall for Russia back. Exactly. Well put, Dave Dismantle. Anyways, let me get back into this video. I'll play a little bit more of it here. Yeah, I might even just take it all the way to the end. I don't know. Like I say, there's a bunch of other stuff I want to get to.
Have been trying to achieve for the past decades is the undermining of our democracy and the breakdown of cohesion within our society. So, so you see two kinds of narratives. That on one side they're directed towards the war, and the other it's directed towards Canadians, Americans in our domestic politics.
Right, the general undermining of Western values and Western institutions, and then the more specific, make it harder for President Zelensky.
The general undermining of Western values. How fucking hilarious is that? Hey, dipshit, you know what's a Western value? that actually we all, you know, not just your Lauren Southerns, your Lauren Chen, or your Cat Candace, but yeah, people like me and others. Western, really, really important Western value is freedom of speech, freedom of association. That's another really important Western value there, dipshit. And yet you are the fuckers that are completely antithetical to upholding that, right? No, we're the ones that are like, well, listen, that's the thing. We're not scared of competition. We're not scared of your propaganda. We're not scared that other people might hear your bullshit. Why? Because as long as I get the opportunity to say what I got to say, I recognize and realize that your propaganda is so fucking weak, it won't take much to destroy that, right? But that, once again, these fucking idiots are projecting their own ineptness and their own weakness in terms of the propaganda they espouse, that they're the ones that are willing to try to silence, suppress, and even what? Criminally charge or hopefully in prison, right? People who are espousing, rhetoric that is against what they stand for, right? Which, believe me, is not Western values. No, these fuckers do not in any way represent Western values, because Western values is something that has a very defined meaning. And I just pointed out a couple examples of that. But Western institutions, oh yeah, you're at least half right there. Yes, we're definitely against a lot of Western institutions. And why that is because folks like yourself, you authoritarian collectivists, you wokesters, you new religious zealots who walk around, pretend that you're all about science and atheists. In reality, you're the most dogmatic zealots, statists I have ever seen or witnessed in my life. And I've seen some really dogmatic zealots in the religious realm in terms of Christianity. Grew up around a bunch of them, but you fucks make them look like fucking, pure analytical, reason-based, scientific consensus types, right? Compared to them. But no, yeah, Western institutions who have been completely compromised and taken over by you authoritarian collectivists. Yeah, we're all against that, right? Any critically thinking, self-respecting individual should be. And not that we want to tear them down by any stretch of the imagination. No. How about we just, remove these hacks, these losers, these inept propagandists or rhetoric espousers, and actually put some people with some good critical thinking skills in these positions, in these Western institutions. And if that's the case, then yeah, by all means, maintain them. Just how about we just don't do it by way of force or violence or theft? How about for these Western institutions, if they want to maintain themselves and continue to be sustained for the foreseeable future, how about you get to the point where people actually want to voluntarily contribute to your institutions and prop them up, right? That's the only way you can assure that it's going to happen properly and at the grassroots level. This constant top-down dictatorial methodology that you use, well, as you can see, it's failing miserably.
Once again, as people to defend their country. It's interesting, though, some of the names that pop up in this, they got a lot of prominence during the convoy when Ottawa was occupied a couple of years ago. A lot of that.
So here you go. See, here's where they're going to try to tie in Lauren Chen, which, I mean, come on. Any of you folks that were watching the convoy thing, was Lauren Chen a dominant voice there? Or even Lauren Southern, a dominant voice there? No. Remember what's been the establishment media? What's the names that they've been pushing, running through the fucking propaganda mill? Chris Barba, Tamara Leach, Pat King. There's a few other ones that their names escape me right now, but it's definitely not Lauren Chen or fucking Lauren Southern. But now they're going to try to pretend that like somehow that they could just seamlessly, mold that right into the story. It's amazing, huh? And they think they're really good at doing it. Well, like I say, if the only way that you could watch this video and fall for this bullshit is like you've never heard anyone else talk about this situation at all. Any counter opinions or perspectives, it means your mind is completely fresh and have only listened to these folks. That's the only way I could see anyone that would be stupid or naive enough to fall for this kind of bullshit. But look at what they're trying to do. They're going to try, once again, desperation is setting in.
That movement very heavily covered on Russian television and in Russian media. What
So I'm sure it was covered on a lot of media outlets. Matter of fact, I know it was covered by a lot of media outlets all over the world. You know, whether they're friendly nations or nations that are opposing or enemies of Canada, right? Of course, media outlets, news outlets, yeah, they covered something that was the biggest story in modern Canadian history in terms of the trucker protest, right? The largest protest event in modern history that actually resulted in a full-on authoritarian imposition, aka the Emergency Act, the never before used Emergency Act, to completely go full tyrannical on a bunch of peaceful protesters, and to suggest that like what it's some strange or it's highly suspicious in any way that media outlets from other countries around the world, friendly or enemy in nature, covered that story. Like, how fucking retarded is that? Russia covered the Freedom Convoy, therefore Freedom Convoy and Russia are all in bed together. Like I say, how stupid, how fucking retarded, how low of an IQ, how low information of a person you have to be to fall for that kind of bullshit. I mean, like I say, see how weak their propaganda is? I mean, I can poke holes in it without even taking any extra time to think about it. I can do it on the fly. That's how fucking weak it is. I can literally do it on the fly in real time on a live stream without even giving it a whole lot of actually forethought. That's how weak they are, folks. That's how weak these fucking fools are.
do we draw from? I know America is the big target, but what do we draw from these sort of Canadian elements that are being revealed in this entire thing?
Well, sure. I mean, the U.S. is a target, but let's remember that when these information operations occurred, they don't respect borders. And so if we're talking about the far left or the far right, when these narratives are injected into social media and into our information environment, they move around all over the place and ricochet here and there. And this indictment also demonstrates that Canadians are producing and amplifying a lot of these narratives. So, I think that borders, these information operations are agnostic of any sort of borders. Going back to your point about the convoy and the anti-vax movement, yeah, I mean, I was surprised during that convoy, during the trucker occupation of Ottawa, that RT was covering that story. They had a reporter on the ground in Ottawa, which
the trucker occupation of Ottawa. Like, tell me that's not the biggest fucking, that's fake news. That is propaganda right there. They occupied Ottawa. No, they didn't even actually occupy. They protested for a longer sustained amount of time than just overnight, right? For a few weeks, they protested in a particular area, a very small area, in a very, very certain central, like right there at where the House of Commons is, like the Parliament and all that stuff on Wellington and streets immediately adjacent to that area, right? But Ottawa's a pretty big fucking city, folks. They didn't fucking occupy Ottawa, like were they armed, right? No, they were just mostly walking on the streets, playing in bouncy castles or sleeping in their trucks or stuff like that. They're occupying. Like I say, the rhetoric that they espouse is just so sensational, just so tabloid-esque.
Which was in one way surprising, in the other way not, because we know that Russia is very good at identifying and exploiting the most.
See, once again, Russia's very good. Yeah. Listen, we get it. You're envious. You're resentful of the fact that you just suck. And Putin's way better, apparently. Putin's so good that he managed to dupe all these Canadians, right? He's so Canadian. Like, really, though? Well, maybe he should do better. Maybe you should try to do a little better. But once again, that's what these fucking petty tyrants, that's what these authoritarian collectivists, that's what these leftists, these so-called progressive do these days. They could never drag themselves up. They couldn't claw their way up, no matter what the fuck, no matter who they had tried to, no matter how many of their leftist counterparts they had trying to prop them up and push them up with their fucking ass and standing on their shoulders. They can never climb up to the level of someone like myself to be able to goddamn, or even to the level of like someone like Lauren Chen or Lauren Southern in terms of what they can bring to the table in terms of how they bring about their ideas, perspectives, or opinions, right? Or their competency in doing so. So how's that? How do you flatten the curve? Well, we know how they flatten the curve. We know how authoritarian collectivists, socialists, and communists. We know how petty dictators, well, they got to drag you down to their level, or at least desperately try to bring you down there. That's the only thing. So he's trying to, rather than bring himself up, right? Or the CBC hack, rather than be a much better paid propagandist for the ruling establishment, so he's going to try to drag other people down to his level, or even lower if he can manage to pull that off. Although, once again, spoiler alert, they're all going to fail at that miserably too. Because once again, I just got to believe in my mind that people, we can't exist today and be genuinely that fucking stupid. Even at the macro level, I just can't believe that even at the macro level, people can be that fucking stupid, which is why, like I say, they're ramping up the rhetoric. I think they even recognize that people just aren't that stupid. They're try as they may, right? And they're getting paid to do this. So I guess to them, it's like, well, at least I'm getting paid. I know I'm probably going to fail in my job, but hey, I'm going to get a paycheck anyways, right?
Polarizing issues of the day, whether it's here in Canada or in the US. What was, I guess, a little bit concerning about those reports is that RT was giving a platform to some of the most extreme voices within that movement, the ones that were calling for the removal of our democratically elected government.
Okay, like this is another thing. Not one person's been charged with sedition or an attempt at a coup or anything. So this is more baseless rhetoric and propaganda. Holy man, what a mischief is basically the biggest thing in terms of the Ottawa protesters. Mischief was the best that they could muster up. Mischief, for fuck's sakes. And yet this guy's trying to pretend that, these are the most dangerous elements. Right? Not whatever.
And what's interesting with the timeline is that it actually jibes with that was the timeline that was presented in the indictment. So these individuals who were responsible for this platform that RT was paying for, according to the indictment, they were already operating and producing content for RT starting in October of 2021, which would mean that even during COVID, during those, the trucker protests, that they were probably producing content at that same time.
All in the run up to the invasion, of course, as well, right? Which is how the calendar lines up. But I wonder, so no charges laid against any of the, say, people with the Canadian company involved here or any of the influencers at this point. But Russian television, RT, and these, they have been sanctioned. So there is a potential for sanctions violations here. We don't have a foreign agent registry yet in Canada. It's in the works, but there is one in the United States. I mean, what are the possible consequences here for this type of behavior, witting, unwitting, or just being a useful idiot?
Well, you're absolutely right. I mean, RT was placed on Canada's sanctions list in June of 2022. And according to the indictment, this activity was ongoing through June 2024. And with our sanctions regulations, it forbids.
Once again, just let me point out here, I don't know if you can do it with your regular internet connection, because I haven't had a Canadian fucking owned internet connection. I won't use any of these Canadian establishment fucking internet providers. I won't use them in the slightest. I support Elon Musk and Starlink, and I am so grateful to have that as an option in Canada. But you may very well, even if you have Rogers or Bell or whatever your Canadian fucking internet service provider is, if you have Odyssey as a platform, if you have access to Odyssey, and I mean, I can even get Odyssey as an app on my television, for crying out loud, right? As part of Roku, I think it is, or whatever. But if you have an internet connection and you can get access to Odyssey, RT is on Odyssey, right? So as a Canadian, they think they can sanction RT. Well, you can do whatever you want, right? But once again, I am not beholden. I'm a little bit smarter than the average bear, and I'm not beholden to the authoritarian edicts or their willingness to try to prevent me from having access to information from whoever the fuck I want to get my information from. Who the fuck are these dipshits to pretend that they have any authority to dictate and control where I get my fucking information from? Fuck you and the fucking horse you rode in on. I'll watch and listen to whoever the hell I goddamn well please, whether you like it or not, and that's what I do. So once again, I don't spend a whole lot of time, watching RT. Every once in a while, I'll check it out, right? Just to get the other side of the story from time to time, get propaganda from the other side of the story from time to time, right? Because once again, I'm under no illusion that all states, all state actors, all media organizations that are within arm's length or directly funded in any way, shape, or form by the state or forced or thrust upon the government, like CBC, that forces Canadians to prop them the fuck up. I'm under no illusion. I know they're all propagandists who will say and spew whatever they are told to by their political masters. But once again, I like to hear all sides of the story. So I'll listen to whatever the fuck I want to listen to, and I'll watch whatever I want to. And there's not a damn thing they can do to stop me. Not currently, anyways. Not currently. And even at a time where they think they'll be able to, us somewhat tech savvy. I'm not that great, but I'm tech savvy enough that I'll find ways to circumvent and undermine any attempt you do to try to prevent me from having access to information, the kind of information I want to have access to. Good luck trying. Anyways, I think that's probably good enough, right? Yeah, I think I'll just stop sharing this one. I think we've heard enough of this shit. I don't think I actually linked this particular video in the live stream, but maybe I'll do that. Yeah, should I? No, I won't even waste time because there's CTV News, another one, right? I won't even waste time with that one. So let me just get back to, I'm going to cover some of this stuff on X here, but let me, before I do that, read some of the comments. Oh, I see there's some new folks that have joined into the stream. Thank you, folks, for joining the stream. I really appreciate that. Yeah, ain't that the truth? But they want to distract you from that. Don't think about that. No. Putin bad. Certain lies are necessary in life to keep shit at bay, but not the lies they speak. Totally another level of bullshit. Yeah, I could agree with that. Logic, what the fuck is that? Yeah. Hey, Corey W., thank you for joining the stream, man. Really appreciate that. Everything woke. Yeah, everything. Yeah, peace is extreme. You're so extreme, man, right? That's how fucking crazy. That's how Orwellian of a world we live in today is. Oh, you fuckers are promoting peace. You're mad? You don't want to support, the deaths, the continued deaths, the onslaught and the destruction of Ukraine? You don't want to support that? Oh, you bastard. Oh, terrible. How terrible of you. Like I said, how fucking Orwellian is that? The system offers only misery, war, tax, and death. Yep. You're right there. What is the bonus pay at RT compared to CBC? Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. That's a good question, right? Yep. Zealots, absolutely. Indeed. Ashley Sanders. Hey, I'm not sure if I'm familiar with Ashley Sanders usually being in the stream, but I really appreciate you being in the stream today, Ashley. Thank you very much. In right-wing politics, they honestly believe that someone not voting for a candidate who is found guilty of felonies, liable for sexual abuse, and is out on bail is the most evil thing imaginable. Okay, I got to read that again. So in right-wing politics, they honestly believe that someone not voting for a candidate, there's a lot of negative and positive parts of your comment, so it's kind of making it a little difficult to follow the train of thought or logic here. So hold on. In right-wing politics, so we're in right-wing politics. So I'm assuming the right wing, the people that are part of right-wing politics, so the right-wing politics types believe that someone not voting for a candidate who is found guilty of felonies, liable for sexual abuse, and is out on jail is the most evil thing in life. Boy, I'm having a hard time. Sorry about that, Ashley, but I'm having a hard time trying to discern the actual underlying message in that. They honestly believe that someone not voting for a candidate who is found guilty. Yeah, sorry about sorry about that. And hey, it could be me. I won't even say it's necessarily you, but it might be just the way my brain works. But I'm having a little bit of a difficult time for some strange reason in following that comment. But it could be a good thing. I'm not sure exactly. Not sure. Sorry about that, but I'll refrain from offering my own perspective because I'm not sure where you're going with that. But honestly, someone not voting for a candidate who was found guilty of felony violation is the most deal. Yeah, I don't know if it's Trump related. I would recommend if you're talking about Trump, like just be a little bit more straightforward. Actually, if you want to offer up a subsequent comment a little further down, I'll actually read it. But maybe try to clear things up for me a little bit because once again, I'm not beholden to either side of the political divide. I'll just deal with things like I say from an objective, ethics based standpoint, right? And I'll be consistent, right? That's one thing I can say for certain, and I would say most people that watch my content realize that I'm very consistent, and that's why I got people on the left and the right that both hate me equally, right? Is that I don't play into the left versus right thing. I'll call both sides out anytime I get a chance. But anyways, I do appreciate you joining the live stream and offering a perspective, whether it's friendly to the left, friendly to the right. To me, it doesn't matter. Like I say, I just I appreciate you taking the time to at least engage in conversation or dialogue. That to me puts you heads and shoulders above a lot of other people, right? At least you're willing to engage no matter which side of the aisle you align with. So thank you very much for joining the stream, Ashley. Sterling Nash, boy, that sounds like a British name, doesn't it? Sterling Nash sounds very British, I think. Anyways, but not sure where you're from, Sterling Nash, but I do appreciate you join the live stream. Haha, you've been ranting on for an hour now and you've got 9 viewers. Clearly, Canadians aren't having your libertarian hillbillies driving around in pickups with guns and flags and no driver's license. So a big fan. Sterling Nash is a big fan of libertarians and decided that, it's more than 9 now. So at the time, right, whether there was 9 watching or not, right? And just to mention, by the way, that StreamYard, the actual the streaming software that I'm using right now, you have the ability to turn off like how many people are watching. So if I wanted to pretend that I had a big audience, I don't care how many people. Like this to me is so weird when people like use like the number of people that watch your content or something as a means to what? Pretend that like what I say is just garbage because there's not enough people watching it. Gee, I wonder if it could have anything to do with the fact that, people who are authoritarian collectivists or support authoritarian collectivists of any type or ideologues or zealots or dogmatic fucking status, right? Yeah, listen, I'll just tell you, the overwhelming majority of people, no matter where you go in the world, they don't like to hear anything that doesn't align with their preconceived notions or their particular ideology of preference, right? That's a reality, right? It's kind of normal that people don't want their paradigms broken, right? It's only a very small subsect, very small minority of people who are willing. That's why we critical thinkers, it would be great, right? I wish everyone was as much of a critical thinker as I am or the people who watch my live stream. It's a sad reality that they're not, but to pretend by the sheer fact that there's a lot of really ignorant, dumbed down, ill-informed, and non-inquisitive people, and use that as the premise to try to demean me or demean anything I've got to say or the philosophy of liberty in some way. Like I say, that's a stretch. That's a bit of a stretch, but hey, you have every right to say whatever you want to say. And on my channel, on any of the content I produce, you're more than willing. Hey, as long as you're not advocating for violence in a way that's actually could be construed as criminal in nature, I don't really give a shit. You could say whatever you want about me. I would recommend you don't do that to other participants in the chat, right? Although they can defend themselves as well, right? I'm not, like I say, I'm not one of these authoritarian mommy or daddies that feels like I got to intervene in things. Just like when other people, they realize that, I'm strong enough and competent enough. I can defend myself. I don't need a whole bunch of people to defend me on social media. I'll do that myself, right? I do that myself. I'm fine with that. But yeah, like I say, you're more than welcome to stick around. I might even read a couple more of your comments, especially, hey, at least try to make it a little bit funny, right? I'll laugh, right? I can laugh at myself. I'm cool with that, no problem. Give it up. Well, that's one thing. See, that's one piece of advice that I won't take. I will never give it up, ever. Right? Over my cold, dead body will I ever give up standing in full-throated defense of my, not just the rights and freedoms, my rights and freedoms, my inherent and inalienable rights and freedoms, right, and liberties, but those of the people I love and care about, aka my sons, my wife, my future granddaughter, my actual future daughter-in-law, my all the people that I generally care about, my co-workers, my associates and people I align with, fellow libertarians, anarchists, voluntarists. Yeah, listen, like I say, we are going to stand in full-throated defense of our liberties, and there isn't a damn thing that you people can do, right? Even with this kind of stuff, like the establishment media, the establishment hacks are trying to espouse, they think that they're actually, they think they're doing a great takedown. But in reality, watch how this actually plays out. Don't take my word for it. Once again, I could be completely off base here, but watch how it actually plays out. Watch how it unfolds, and you'll see that it's not going to work out the way that they hoped or they thought. I mean, they've been doing this for years, and the liberty movement, people that are, antithetical to the establishment, are only growing in ranks. So obviously all that bullshit rhetoric and messaging and the diatribes, right? And the libel and the slander that they keep tossing and throwing our way, obviously, not only is it not working, but it's actually doing the opposite. So, hey, bring it on. Ashley Sanders' status was Ashley. Oh, maybe you understood what Ashley was saying. Here, let me read what Dave just made. Okay, Ashley Sanders' status, regardless of left or right, believe the coercion, violence, and slavery called government is not only legitimate, they condone it. Status are the most immoral people. See, Dave gets it. Dave gets it. And you see how he replied to you, Ashley. If you're still watching this is why I carry myself in the way that I do, talk in the manner I do, have the respect for people in the way that I do, is because this is the kind of people that follow my channel. So not huge in numbers. I get that. But look at this. Dave dismantled is like I say, the guy completely respectful towards you, no insults, and is just pointing out something that should be very obvious and is obvious to people like myself. And he's just trying to help inform you in some way without getting no jabs in on you whatsoever. See what I mean? This is why that, yeah, my channel might not have large audience or as large an audience as some other people, but the audience that I do have is filled with people like Dave here. And other people, like I say, that follow my content and that we engage in dialogue with all the time, is these are good, decent, upstanding, respectable people. And you know what? I'd rather 10 people like Dave than 1,000 people like the type of audience that these authoritarian collectivists or leftists, appeal to, right? Whether they're right or left. Like I say, the ones that are appealing to even the right these days, that are appealing to the kind of people who are going to have hatred for one side because my war or my team, my tribe, and not willing to, play around in that gray area. We're actually, a lot of the truth, actually, a lot of the nuance to it is in that gray area. But both the left and the right like to completely avoid that realm entirely. They play for Team Red or Team Blue, and they only want you to show blind allegiance and loyalty to the tribe. They don't care about your opinion or perspective or your morality or the ethics that you uphold. They only care that you'll kiss the ring. And people like myself, people like Dave, and so many others, like I say, not huge in number, but large enough that, like I say, it's profound in the kind of reach and importance that information that we bring to the table. That's when, at the end of the day, it's the ideas, it's how we carry ourselves. I mean, think about it. Wouldn't you? I mean, Ashley, think about it. Wouldn't you like to live around someone like Dave or someone like myself, that even if we completely disagreed with you, right, we're willing to say, you know what? As long as you're unwilling, or as long as you're willing to not use force or violence, coercion, or theft towards me, I'm willing to reciprocate in kind. And you do you and I do me. Isn't that the kind of person or people that you would like to surround yourself with? I know it is for me. It always have been. And that's why I do surround myself with those kind of people. And I'm in a much better mental space and much healthier in that space as a consequence. So thank you, Dave, for doing that, actually, because once again, it's one thing to say I have a great audience of people and fellow travelers. But it's another thing entirely for you to step up and prove that. So thank you very much, Dave. Thanks for doing that, man. Oh, Ashley is referring to Trump, but can't even type out the name. Oh, yeah, I kind of thought that was the case, and that thanks for clarifying. But yeah, I guess in some, well, I can be, but I can also be a real fucking asshole. It's true. It's just like with everyone, right? But that's the thing. My whole premise in life is I try to treat people initially. My first thing, and anyone that's ever met me will tell you the same thing. My first initial thing with no matter who I deal with initially is I'm going to treat you with the kind of respect that I would want to be, the way I would want to be treated. And I'll do that right up until, you start going the other way with things and start trying to race down to making conflict or unneeded or unnecessary conflict. And I'll let you go with that for a while, but eventually I'll be nice right up until the point that I'm not. And then when I'm not, then watch the fuck out, right? Because yeah. And like I say, not only do I train my brain, so I'm pretty good at fighting back in terms of the power that I possess within this gray matter between my ears, but even in the physical space, I'm a nice guy, and I will be right up until you bring conflict to me. And what you do, well, you'll find out real quick that we libertarians, right? I'm not seeking conflict, but if you bring it to me, I'm all about self-defense and defending myself and those I love, right? So you're right to a degree. I am fairly nice, and I can be nice up until a point, Dave, up until a point. So if Canadians are not having the libertarian view, then what are they having? Socialism, bordering on communism, which is so much better, eh? Well, this is the problem that took me a long time to realize this, right? Because until you really start paying attention, even myself, you're very ignorant to a lot of things, especially at the macro level, right? Usually we just know our own little inner circle, our own little social groups and stuff. But now that I see the big picture, at least a lot of the big picture has now been put together like a big giant jigsaw puzzle for me. Canada is predominantly comprised of people who definitely lean towards the collectivist end of things, right? And that's something that has been disturbing for me. But I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that the way we were raised and educated, with mysticism dominating every aspect of our life, right? We don't even have the thing about Canada. We don't even have that history or heritage that the Americans have, which is the very establishment of their government. The establishment of the United States was, overthrowing the tyrant King George. So to them, even though the U.S. has become a behemoth, a Goliath of a state itself, the premise, right? The very fundamental reasoning or logic behind the American experiment was fighting against big government, authoritarianism, collectivism, or taxation without representation, right? So Canada, we don't have that history, that heritage. And I believe that is the major distinguishable difference of why Canadians are the way we are, but Americans are that much different. Now, Canadians, here's the thing. We're kind of hybrid in a way. There's a sizable population of authoritarian collectivists, socialists, communists, even fascists, right? But I'm a Canadian, and a lot of us, especially I would say Gen Xers, is not just the time frame that we were born and raised, but all the kind of movies, television, and music that we were privy to, which was obviously American culture, dominated by American culture. So we got a lot of that messaging. We got a lot of those premises, those ethics, those ideas in terms of, think about a movie such as Braveheart. Braveheart is all about, going against, well, that time it was, what was it? Longshanks, King Longshanks or whatever. But it was all about, ragtag, kind of militia type people, right? Average dude that just wanted to, have a wife and some kids and a little plot of land to grow some food on, right? But like I say, and those kind of stories, then you got your 300s, you got your Gladiator. All these movies are in strong, resilient individuals going up against behemoths or the states or the statists, right? Very, very powerful, very profound. Whereas Canada, luckily we did have some of that influence, and Gen X, because we were latchkey kids and basically raised by, movies and music and television, right? Because yeah, our parents are out busy doing a lot of things, right? Sometimes a little begrudging of that, but while they were off doing their thing, the one thing that was kind of helpful for us is we learned a lot of autonomy, learned all about sovereignty, learned about all about socializing without top-down authoritarianism or impositions of our parents or other. We had to learn things on the fly. We had to get some street smarts. So, and by sheer fact, like I say, at that point in time, Hollywood was not woke, right? At that point in time, Hollywood actually put forth some really great content in terms of giving us those ideas, and even in terms of television, right? If you want to talk about things such as Star Trek, and I know there's areas of Star Trek where I guess people have disagreements on, but like I say, there was a lot of great ethics and premises espoused in the kind of music, movies, and television that we grew up with. So that's a big thing. But once again, Canada is not America, and America is not Canada. I mean, hopefully, both of our countries, or the people in our countries, gravitate at some point in time more towards not just to being the exceptional American ideas and how it was founded in terms of respecting and promoting individual sovereignty and liberty and all that stuff, and freedom of speech and the Second Amendment. But let's even get beyond that. Let's even see what we can do in this modern information age, or what I've coined Enlightenment Era 2.0. Let's step up and go above and beyond even that, right? And why can't we as Canadians? Americans have led for a long time, hundreds of years before Canada was even a country. Americans already had that, individual liberty thing kind of propagated through their culture and dominant in their culture. Why can't we as Canadians, right? Why can't we maybe step up the game, right? And maybe lead by example, or just become leaders in some way, in some regard? Because Canadians do have that capacity. It is within us, because we are, at least somewhat heavily influenced by our American counterparts. Let's go above and beyond. I thought actually at the time, the trucker convoy, I thought it was like, shit, even the Americans today didn't do what the Canadians did in terms of their willingness, their courage to stand in full defiance, even with such threats being posed, and eventually the Emergency Act and all that entailed being posed. The fact that it was Canadians that did that made me really, really fucking proud that I was like, damn, so there are at least a sizable portion of my fellow Canadians who have that within them. And man, that made me proud to see that. And like I say, let's not stop there. Let's keep it going. Maybe let's even show the Americans, right? I'm thankful and grateful for past Americans for what they've done to show me the way in terms of understanding, respecting, and promoting individual sovereignty and liberty. Let's return the favor and do the same for them, right? Because it'll benefit all of us and anyone else who's willing to listen. But yeah, thanks for bringing all this stuff up. Like I say, I really appreciate. Sorry about it. My other comments, man. No, don't even worry about it, Dave, man. It's all good, my friend. It's all good. Let me just check out a couple more comments here. I'm going to actually check out on some of the ones from some of the maybe the newer folks here that I'm not familiar with. The Real What's Up Canada asking any sitting MP if they would support constitutional conventions to seat de jure lawful sovereign Canada. They will say why de facto unlawful. Let them rule through implied consent. Well, that's something interesting. Actually, the Real What's Up Canada, if this is something that you would like to maybe possibly in terms of constitutional conventions or anything, that stuff, talking about big ideas like that, I love engaging in dialogue or conversation like that. So if you ever want to, maybe reach out to me on Canadian Libertarian BH, as in Bennett Hunter, at gmail.com, or you can reach out to me on X or Facebook, message me there. Even where else could you check me out? I don't know if you're on Minds. But yeah, any way that you can find me. I do have a Proton Mail account if you want to do it in encrypted form, right? I have a Proton. It's Canadian Libertarian at protonmail.com. But yeah, if you want to reach out to me and maybe have a conversation about, maybe we'll have a live stream together to talk about this kind of stuff, I'm more than willing to. So yeah, just like I say, if that's something you're interested in, I'd be more than willing to follow up on that and have a good old conversation. Hey, Justin Trudeau, what's going on? Hey, yeah, hosers. Thank you for joining the live stream as well there, Justin. Appreciate that, my friend. Anyways, let me see. What else was I going to bring up here? basically I got, well, actually look at how long we've been going. So actually I'm at an hour and 54 minutes. Actually, I might as well tie this one up, folks. I did have, actually, no, just a few minutes here. I'm going to bring up a couple more things. Then we're going to tie it up. There's a lot of the articles. They're all linked in the description of the live stream. But this stuff I did want to at least present just to show you how everything seems to be coordinated these days. So this is just one that I had actually sitting in X in the background in an open tab right now. As you can see, this Allison Creekside. Which I don't that doesn't look like it's anyone's real profile picture, but you know, that's typically how this goes, right? A convoy connection to Tenet Media founder Lauren Chen, who the DOJ alleged took a shit ton of funds from pro-Moscow sources. Chen hosted the We Unify Reclaiming Canada conference in June in Victoria this year, along with her buddy Lauren Chen. This year's Reclaiming Canada stars alongside Chen Southern, Tamara Litch, Chris Barber, Arthur Pawlowski, Eva Chupwick, John Carpe, Rebel News, etc. BC Con John Rustard keynoted last year's We Unify conference in recognition of the 2022 Freedom Convoy. So basically what this person's trying to do is, all the people who share, disdain and or are against the current ruling establishment or the ruling class these days are somehow finding each other on the internet, in the social media era. Imagine that. It must be a conspiracy. This is conspiracy theory stuff. You might want to put on, hey, I'm not usually a fan of promoting the conspiracy thing, but hey, when in Rome, since that's what you fuckers typically like to do, you're a conspiracy theorist, Allison. You're creating a conspiracy theory right here, right now. But good luck with all that. Anyways, let me just show you. I want to bring on let me stop the sharing here first. And because I wanted to show you, I actually made a whole, I'll bring it back on. I made a whole bookmark. Thanks Elon, by the way, for giving us the ability to have different folders of bookmarks for different subject matter and topics of conversation or propaganda. It's so great to have that and then be able to click on it in real time. So here we go. Look at this. This is what I've seen so far. So here's MP Ryan Turnbull. Look at that. Canadian flag with the Ukrainian flag. Look at that. Oh, MP for Whitney, Secretary, Deputy Prime Minister. So, look, he's a Trudeau appointee. The far-right disinformation machine is finally being exposed. Far-right media outlet linked to secret Russian influence campaign produced 50-plus videos focused on Canada. Oh, the humanity, right? Anyways, so that's what they're throwing. Then you got here Bill Bromo. And now a word from our sponsor. Oh, look, Putin turning the fucking look. This, he's a puppet master, Putin, right-wing influencer. It's so hilarious, right? Then you got Dean Blondell. He's such an establishment hack. It's fucking hilarious. Look at this guy, right? Epoch Times CFO charged in $67 million money laundering scandal, shaking conservative media in Canada. Here's how it works. So, they're just this. It's funny how this is all coming out at the same time, huh? And I had to share this with Dave. Even Dave's catching on, yeah. I've been predicting for a while now that there's going to be a ramp up in censorship as the election gets closer. I'm actually surprised it hasn't come sooner. Seems like this Tenet Media story is going to be the pretense. Makes you wonder. Good one to point out there, David. Yeah, I caught that too. It's quite revealing, isn't it? Oh, and here's that same one here. Let me add. And then of course Andrew Coyne, right? Andrew Coyne, another one of these establishment hacks. Look, with his Ukraine flag in his bio. I was distinctly told the convoy was the authentic voice of working Canadians. So, that's his way to put a little dig in once again on the convoy. Hey, if you're part of the convoy, if you were against the authoritarian mandates, right, imposed by the Trudeau Liberals, well, you must automatically now be aligned with Putin and his massive disinformation campaign, right? This is what they do. No talking about the ideas, though, Andrew? No. Just guilt by what? You just happen to share the same fucking hatred and loathing of the ruling establishment in this country. Therefore, right? Say, how lowbrow is that? I mean, if you're a follower of Andrew Coyne and you believe his rhetoric, sorry, I just got to point out that you're one dumb motherfucker. You're one low information motherfucker. Oh, and there's this Wired one. This was one I was going to read too. Now, I expect I'll probably deal with this story again in a subsequent follow-up or live stream. So maybe I'll share this one because this one had lots of information contained with it. But here's the headline of it. Anyways, new right-wing influencers working for Tenet Media, a company the DOJ says was financed by a state-backed Russian news. Should be outlet, I guess. But anyway, showed interest in a specific set of topics a Wired analyst shows. This includes Elon Musk and supposed racism against white people. And then here's angry AB lib. Oh, and look. Like it's so easy. Like I didn't even have to know what was going to be written. All I have to do is look at the fucking profile, right? CBC logo as the profile picture, right? And their name is Angry AB Lib, so I assume that Alberta Liberal, right? With the Ukrainian flag and has to advertise that they're boosted or vaccinated 4 times. Oh, plus 1 BIVA. So I don't know, a couple more boosters there. So, all right. Like, what a fucking weird thing is your profile picture is CBC and a Ukrainian flag and boasting that you've had a bunch of fucking retarded ass fucking vaccines. Like I'm part of Team Woke Progressives. I wanted to virtue signal that because I think you fuckers are actually dumb. Oh, wait a minute. Wait till you find out that they're wait till you find out just how small of a representation of these people that you're actually going to be surrounded with at some point in time. Wait till you find out the kind of people that you are actually aligning and surround yourself with. Wait till you actually see them in the physical space someday and how inept and how fucking cowardly and how big of losers they are. I just think it's so funny because the internet's not going to forget this stuff. Why have it bookmarked? So I'll probably share this stuff a few times in the future. But look, Canadians have been implicated in the DOJ case of Russians' interference in U.S. election. Will our MSM now investigate their connections to CBC HQ and Pierre Poilievre? So I was like, oh no, look, she got a picture. I think that's that Cat Canada. Look, she got a picture with Pierre Poilievre and they're holding an apple. Oh, no. Oh man. There you go. Well, Pierre Poilievre there, by natural extension, he must be a paid Putin propagandist too. It's so fucking, like I say, like how stupid you got to be to parrot this shit, and how stupid you think your fucking other followers are for the fact that you're willing to propagate this shit to them and think that they're going to suck it up hook, line, and sinker. Like, wow, that's great. But it's so hilarious. MSN. And you're using the wrong terminology because that says that acronym stands for mainstream media. And I got to tell you, just based on the numbers, which are actual factual and easy to find, yeah, the established media are no longer the mainstream, right? They're actually been relegated, not quite to the dustbins of history yet. They still, like I say, they're still out there. They're still propagating their narrative. They're still being propped up by the depleting and ever diminishing and being depreciated and devalued, fiat currencies. They're still being propped up with that stuff by the ruling establishment, right? But like I say, their audiences and their numbers are falling and failing miserably. Right? So there's that. So no, they're not the mainstream media. They're what I call the establishment media, because that's much more admirable and much more truthful, because they're definitely not mainstream these days. Oh, and then you got this loser Captain Kobe here. I know loser's not an argument, but it's fucking true. It's true. Because, yeah, come on. If you're aligned with this shit, with the Trudeau liberals, right? Like, come on. There's something really wrong with you in your head, right? You at the very least, you admit that, yeah, you lack self-esteem. I mean, well, you need government handouts? Only losers need fucking government handouts, or someone that maybe had a difficult time in their life. But wait a minute, still, even if you had a difficult time in your life, why you need government? You got nobody in your fucking life that cares about you enough to help you out, right? No? Got to go to government? Yeah, that makes you a loser. Sorry. Or if you're on the side of a very effeminate man like Trudeau, who, loves going to pride parades and identifies as a feminist, a man, yeah. Sorry, I hate to break it to you, man. No matter what you might think about yourself or try to tell yourself or convince yourself reality over rhetoric, and reality suggests that you haven't been doing a very good job of propping yourself up because you're still coming across like a big old loser. Sorry, just have to point that out. Remember that time when Pierre made a propaganda video showing how he wants his candidate to be, and he used Russian fighter jets in it? All makes sense now. Like, like, what the fuck? What the fuck? If it had come out that the left in Canada was a part of a massive foreign disinformation campaign, the right would be calling us traitors and demanding we be jailed. Let's keep that in mind as we proceed. Well, I don't know. America is actually a foreign country, right? And I see a lot of fucking Canadians paired in the disinformation fucking propaganda and bullshit narratives and lies espoused by the American establishment, the American ruling class. So actually it's happening all the time there, David. Maybe you're just not paying attention, or maybe you're just admitting this because it would kind of put a little bit of a wrinkle in the kind of shit you're trying to put forward, huh? Let's keep that in mind as we proceed, he says. Oh, that is just too funny. Too funny. Oh, and here, Evan Dyer. And gee, who's Evan Dyer? Oh, right. He's a CBC hack himself, right? Evan Dyer. Meet the right-wing Canadian influencers accused of collaborating with an alleged Russian propaganda scheme. The guy from CBC News, right? And then, of course, this fucking other loser, Markham Hislop. One can't help but wonder how many extreme right media sites in Alberta are funded by similar sources. The ones that seem to have no trouble getting interviews with Premier Daniel Smith et al. I've always wondered, maybe we'll get in. So it's like literally they're just trying to tie everybody. It's like it's unbelievable. Like, do you fucking idiots not realize like how much power you are actually handing over to someone like Putin? Putin's like, oh my God, they think I did all that. Oh, okay, actually, no, that was me. Yeah, no, that was Actually, Putin's probably like, yeah, see, I did all that. And the crazy thing is these people would be anti-Putin, but yet they're the ones that seem to want to prop the guy up and make him into some virtuous kind of a god or leader of the entire Western world, apparently, these days. Putin has somehow duped everybody. Man, that guy's a mastermind. And Markham and all these fuckers are saying that. Are they secret admirers? Makes you wonder, doesn't it? Makes you wonder. Oh, and then, of course, Andrew Coyne just chime in again. Tenet Media was founded by a Canadian right-wing social media influencer named Lauren Chen and her husband, Liam Donovan. Far-right media outlets linked to secret Russian influence campaign produced 50 videos. Holy shit, they produced 50 videos. All the humanity folks. What in the hell are we all going to do knowing that there's 50 videos out there on the internet just floating around there? Do you know how dangerous that could be? Just a couple more. I just like it just so I can laugh. I like a good laugh, right? Laughter, it truly is the best medicine. So let's just enjoy a good laugh. Then we'll tie up the live stream, get on with the rest of our weekend. Right? How's about that? How much of the CPC HQ lead in the polls is due to massive Russian influence on social media, trying to help elect a groomed and beholden anti-Ukraine prime minister in Canada, Pravda Pierre. So so they're, like I say, Peter's even saying that, holy fuck, Putin has so much influence on everyone that it goes right through to everybody, and he's so good at it that even the CPC and Pierre Poilievre and all their supporters, they've completely fallen for it. Meanwhile, you fuckers are basically, like I say, you don't quite realize they're Peter and the rest, yeah. But I'm just going to inform you right now in case any of you fucks ever get a chance to watch this live stream, but I don't think you will because you might actually learn something. And I recognize that you don't really want to learn anything, but just in case, you never know. There's always a 1 in a gazillion chance, right? But just so you know, when you're trying to do this stuff to an intelligent person like myself, it's not only you propping up your opponents and your enemies, but you're making yourself quite diminished as well. Because what you're saying is, fuck, Putin's doing a way, way better job. Because if you were superior to Putin and his disinformation campaign, or RT, and CBC and all your establishment hacks were as good at their job or even superior in their job, then you wouldn't even have to worry about Putin. You'd be dominating the discourse these days. The simple fact that you're panicked and paranoid about Putin shows me and shows yourself, and puts on full public display just how incompetent you even recognize that you are yourself. Yeah, that's rough, man. That's got to be rough. I'm glad I'm not living in your headspace. And listen to this fucking moron. I don't know. Oh, this is that Dean Blundell again. But just listen to this guy. It's funny. It's quite funny. No. Why ye no play? Why ye no play? Oh, that must be Russia. Russia's did that. Russia's fucking manipulate. Russia's hacked my account, man. Now I can't. Oh, whatever. I don't even fucking care. Yeah, whatever. Let's just move on. Oh, and of course, this press progress where that's another thing. Progress. What the hell? Like I say, they're regressive, not progressive. But here, same idea. Oh, they're all paralleling the same thing. Right media. Oh, there's worse things in the world than being right, but not much better. Now, that's almost seems like what word, which exact kind of wording is he using? Does he mean right as in correct or right wing, right? I don't know. What would Freud say about that? What would Jung? What would any psychologist say about that? I don't know. But anyways, I might as well listen to a little bit of it, huh? A bombshell. Oh my God. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. They do it real good. See, I'm telling you, just gotta listen to them long enough. They're very envious and resentful because they recognize. I won't play the rest of it, but Dean Blundell, they recognize like we suck so bad, and even with all these fucking idiots to try to prop us up and pretend like and purport that we have such a large audience and we're the dominant voices and we're the true, popular movements in this country. We have the majority at our backs and on our side. But yet, if you actually believe that yourself, you wouldn't fucking waste time putting on this kind of bullshit, would you? You'd be just fucking happy with the fact that, hey, I don't have, like, unless they just, well, that's the thing. If you believed that you were actually superior in some way, you wouldn't waste your time. Or the only people who actually genuinely believe that they're superior, that would constantly be going against like these people that have, supposedly such, what they call them, fringe audiences, and we're such a minority and so important and just such a bunch of liars and stuff. Well, apparently you must like to punch down. That's the only two options that I see is either you actually don't believe that shit yourself and you realize that your own messaging and propaganda is weak and inept and you're quite incompetent in your ability to convey it, or you're the kind of guy that just likes to punch down, right? Because, these people are so below or beneath me. Well, apparently you like to punch down. Well, like I say, never really had a whole lot of respect for the kind of people that like to punch that far down, right? It speaks volumes, right? They can pump their chest, they can do whatever they want. But like I say, I'm really good at it. I can sense the weakness, and I can smell the stench of desperation. And there he is again. And of course, CBC News. And now this AF post is pointing out the fact that YouTube terminated Lauren Chen and Tenet Media's channel. Like, what? I don't to me, it's like, whatever. Because YouTube, I mean, very few people, especially if you're the kind of person that's following like Lauren Chen or some of you still watch them on these dominant players or platforms like YouTube, but I'm pretty sure you can probably find them in some of these alternative platforms, such as Rumble and others, right? So, you managed to delete Lauren Chen, right? Right? Which is so hilarious. It's so funny that, like I say, the story is just too funny. I mean, don't you think it would be much easier to stick if it was like least some really grizzly looking, like really fucking thick beard, like, your Jeremy McKenzie types. Like if they could use like that guy, like, because he's actually strong kind of a guy, looks like he's in decent shape, right? Ex-military guy, right? Knows how to shoot a gun. Much easier to make him seem like the big bad guy, right? But it's fucking really, I find it really weird, all these fucking guys, right? Because a lot of it, like, think about the CBC reporter, the guy that he was interviewing, or like Dean Blundell or your Andrew Coynes, all these men, right? All these men are like, oh no, Lauren Chen and Lauren Southern and Cat Canada. Oh my God, they're such a threat to our democracy. Because, not for their physical prowess, not for the violence that they bring, but because they have some skill to garner an audience for their videos or the information that they propagate. Oh no, like I say, how fucking weak of a fucking man are you that you're scared to death of these three ladies? That's to me, that's hilarious. I would, man, if I was in that mindset, I can't imagine even being in that mindset. I'm trying right now. I'm trying to visualize, trying to put forth the vision in my own mind. Is like, what would it be like to be in that space? To be so paranoid and so angry at these three girls, these three ladies, right? So fearful of what they bring to the table. It's like, shit, man, you're weak as shit, right? Your shit is weak. Damn. Like I say, do you have a wife? I'm curious. Do any of these men have wives? Because if they have wives, do their wives even? How could, if you're the wife of any of these guys, and you know the kind of shit that they espouse, right? If you're privy to this stuff, like, there's no way you have any respect for that guy. There's 0% chance that you have any respect if you're a woman for these kind of guys, right? I mean, come on. I just can't imagine, right? I can't imagine even ever in my life even want to be within a fucking earshot distance or even slightly aligned or associated with any man that is this weak and inept and cowardly and so fearful of three women getting paid some money by whoever to say some opinions or perspectives or views, right? Wow. Anyways, folks, yeah, that's good enough, right? I think we'll just tie this bad boy up. Oh, I forgot to share that, didn't I? Shit. Oh, well, whatever. I guess I forgot to actually share it, but you heard me say it. I should have actually, yeah, I forgot to hit the share button. But yeah, that's, if you go through my X feed, I don't know if other people can actually look at my bookmarks, or am I the only one that can look at my bookmarks? That's something actually I'll have to check into. But yeah, you can definitely find this stuff for yourself. Just scroll through it. I mean, you heard me say the names. Just go to their feed and you'll see. Yeah, this is the kind of shit rhetoric that they're espousing. Yeah, like I say, they're running scared shitless from these poor ladies who are now going to be raked over the coals. Constantly being canceled, misrepresented, and basically skewed at the altar of statism, right? It's funny, but let's laugh at them and move on. Anyways, I am going to end this live stream, but I do really, really appreciate all you folks that did join it and contributed. Once again, really grateful for all the contributions, all the comments that you folks bring, because I really like to hear what you folks have to say. I like to hear your perspective. I thank you very much, Dave, and everyone else out there, for your respectful dialogue, even when people do join into the chat, right? Just, what I mean? I mean, I'm not going to tell you how to do it. You folks are smart, wise enough, use your own reason, stance, and judgment. But, if someone starts going, fuck, I'm not saying for you to ever place yourself to be beholden to being, the subject of nothing but constant lambasting, insults, and diatribe from these hacks, right? If they ramp up the things to the point where it's just a one-sided fucking, grilling and raking, then yeah, stand in full throated defense of yourself. And, I defend you for doing so. But yeah, I like the fact that you're willing to, and Dave, you showed that willing, at least try to put your best foot forward first and foremost, right? Because, these people, as much as they might try to misrepresent people like ourselves, it's really going to be difficult for them to convince their own self in their own brain that we're so terrible people when we don't give them any fodder whatsoever to use, right? They, at that point in time, they just have to rest and rely on empty and baseless rhetoric from others, not real world experiences. And that in time will greatly diminish their own willingness to keep going along, to get along with that kind of bullshit, right? But anyways, thanks to all you folks to join the live stream. I'm going to tie it up now. Have the great rest of your weekend. I'll see you in the next one. It's Canadian Libertarian. I love liberty.